It's weird because you can also pay your bills at the same place where you bet. So it's like a little bit of a strange, like a little bit of a kind of a contradiction there in some ways. But yeah, you can pay your electric bill and fire like a parlay on like a soccer game or whatever.
Come on, let's go!
Welcome to Circles Off, episode number 151, right here, part of the Hammer Betting Network, presented by Pinnacle Sportsbook. I am Rob Pizzola, joined by Johnny from betstamp after a couple weeks off. Toes good?
We're in business. Yeah, we're back. Toe injury. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, it was good. I listened to a controversial episode. I feel like guy came at you hard. Fellow Ontarian. The Godfather.
Oh, The Godfather. Okay, I saw that. For context, anyone that doesn't know and doesn't watch you should watch every episode, by the way, if you haven't. But if you didn't, a few episodes ago, I put out my list of follows on gambling Twitter, must follows or people you should follow. And I let Joey Knish give his list of people not to follow, the worst follows. And he gave our friend, I would call him a friend. I love the guy. I think he's great. Zach walked by him on the street the other day.
Yeah.
Pisky Positivo.
Did he scrap you or no after the episode?
No, it was the day we recorded the episode. I was leaving the office going home. I was on the phone with someone, though, so I didn't say hi to him.
Pisky's a good guy. Nice guy.
Yeah, he's a great dude, but he does a podcast with an acquaintance of his who goes by The Godfather, Ben. And that guy was not happy, not only with Knish, but he was really upset with me. He's like, and that host, you could tell him where to go or whatever. I don't know. I thought I was very impartial. I said to Knish, I'm like, I understand why people feel that way. I like the guy. I don't have a problem with him. I don't know, man. I got caught in the middle of the crossfire.
He's like, I got some suspicions about those guys. I'm like, am I in this now? I didn't even know if I'm in this now.
I want to know what the suspicions are, though.
I don't know.
That guy lives not far from me. He's where I grew up, basically.
Rob's gonna. Is that a threat?
Coming. I see you, Ben. I'm just saying. I thought the fellow paisans were supposed to stick together. You know what I'm saying? That's what I thought was supposed to happen.
It is what it is.
That was very out of nowhere. But whatever. Such is life. You produce content. There's going to be people that love it. There's going to be people that hate it. Sometimes people feel offended. I understand. Like if I was put on like the worst Twitter follows list by someone else, depends on who it is. It might really bother me if that was the case. It might also have no impact on me. So I get it. But I feel like I got caught in the crossfire there. And it's all Knish's fault, per usual. But I've been enjoying some playoffs. And, I put it out there the other day, like I love playoff hockey on Twitter, which I do. And some people were like responding to me and they're like, oh, no, like playoff hockey's great, but like NFL is better or Major League Baseball playoffs or whatever. I don't think so, man.
No. Like
I'm a Canadian guy. NFL playoffs, I love the NFL. NFL's my favorite league, but like half the games are duds every year in the playoffs. Like, how are you going to say the NFL playoffs are the best? They're not even close to the best.
But it's every game's a game 7, though.
Yeah, but but there's so many blowouts. Like it's.
Yeah, but every game's a game 7. Sudden death. Every game's game 7. Think about that.
Yeah.
But like the way that the game is played, everything about playoff hockey feels so much different.
It's a different.
Like every hit, every
it is
pass,
significantly
every
different
chance.
than regular season.
It's just so much energy in everything.
Yeah.
And it's not only that, it's the game of hockey, right? Like, and this is there's people who love the NBA. I'm not shitting on the NBA. I actually really enjoy watching the NBA playoffs, but later in the playoffs, because in the early going, you just don't get too many good games.
We have minus 10,000 series favorites.
Yeah, you like in hockey,
blue horseshoe.
Because of the way that the game is played in the playoffs, and because of the fact that there's so few scoring events, there's just more variance. Like any team could legitimately win in the NHL in a series, and doesn't feel like that way in the NBA. It just feels like I'll turn on an NBA game. It's intense. It's fine, but like you just know inevitably which team is going to win the game. I guess that's why you bet. You bet the point spread and the total and the props, and you make it more interesting. But it doesn't really get great, in my opinion, until later on. Baseball playoffs, I do love baseball playoffs. It's also a different game. It's more high, but it's a little bit slower generally. You get a lot of pitching changes, slows the game down. To me, the hockey playoffs are the best, man.
It's a good rep. When the Leafs are winning rounds,
We won
Winning rounds.
We're winning rounds.
By the time this episode goes live, the game 3 will have been played.
I'd say we're up 2-1.
Yeah.
I have a good track record on this show.
You fucking stink at home, man.
We're up 2-1.
I will go on the
Stink at home
record
this
saying
year.
one of these teams will be up 2-1 by the time this episode airs.
Wow.
When you are
You're
listening
bold,
right
Rob.
now, the Leafs are up 2-1.
Do you remember the last time we did
Yeah, I did. I called the exact Super Bowl.
You called the Super Bowl.
And including a dog.
Yeah, you put me on the spot for who's gonna win the Super Bowl. I said San Fran because I gave like this was before the championship games.
Yeah.
The AFC and NFC.
San Fran versus Green Bay.
San Fran was the most likely to win their game. So I picked San Fran. And then
Casey was a dog.
Casey was a dog. You picked KC.
Yeah,
we
yeah,
called the Super Bowl, man. That was people don't know. I don't know that a lot of people realize what happened there.
No, yeah, it doesn't matter. The real ones know. One guy commented. He's like, LOL.
Yeah.
Nice work. So anyways, we got an amazing guest this week.
But speaking of the real ones know to play at Pinnacle Sportsbook. The world's greatest sportsbook, available to bettors across Canada. Find out what pro bettors have known for decades. Pinnacle is where the best bettors play. Johnny reps the hat because it looks good. Sick brand, but we enjoy it. Honestly, versatile sportsbook for any type of bettor, whether you're serious, recreational. You should always be looking to bet into low margins. Pinnacle does that. Great customer support. Limits are posted on screen. Tons of great stuff. So check out Pinnacle in Canada. Use code HAMMER to sign up, as it does support us here on Circles Off. You must be 19 plus, not available in the U.S. And as always, please play responsibly.
One more thing about Penny. A lot of people are, I've seen some stuff, misconceptions, like Pinnacle's only for the major markets. Back in the day, yeah, you got us. Back in the day, Penny was only for the major markets. Right now, if you haven't checked it out in the last couple of years, go check it out. Site is completely revamped in terms of the offering. So not only can you bet big money, same limit on all the alternates, which all you got to do is click the drop down and you can bet all those alternate spreads anyways, like you can on FanDuel, DraftKings, and those books. But in addition to that, Pinnacle actually has a lot of props now. Before they used to just do a couple of them, major players. Go take a look for NBA playoffs. They got a bunch now. Like we're in business. If you want offering, Penny, much improved. Go check it out again.
And one thing to add to that while we're doing the promo, which I think is important. I see this around this time of year a lot. You got NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs. People love to put in parlays on a nightly basis. I'm going to pick all 4 games and parlay them. Okay, go to your sports book, put in that parlay, then go over to Pinnacle, put in that exact same parlay, and watch how much more it pays every single time. Like, again, it's fine if you only want to play parlays and you're betting recreationally, but why leave dollars on the table? So even if you're going to do that over the course of playoffs, make sure you do check out Pinnacle Sportsbook. Our guest this week on Circles Off is a professional sports bettor based in Colombia. He has recently worked for a large betting group known as Snowstorm and now is betting on his own as well. You can follow him on Twitter at BetWithGringo. Gringo joins us this week on Circles Off. Gringo, how's it going?
Good, amazing to be here in Colombia. It's nice and warm. I'm from Pittsburgh originally, so I love the weather down here.
I have to start just by asking you about the Gringo handle or moniker. Typically speaking, like Gringo, kind of like a derogatory term towards white guys or like non-Hispanic people. So you're a white guy. How did the nickname come about, and why do you keep going with it?
They kind of just made it up for me when I was working for them. They were like, we need to give you a name. And they're like, you live in Colombia, you bet. And, people call me Gringo in the street because that's what I am. So it does have a little bit of a history, a negative history. But like, it's, it is what it is. It's like, I'm not offended by it. So, yeah.
Yeah, if it doesn't bother you, it's no issue.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your start in betting.
Man, it goes back so long. I'm like 38 now, but I was a pro poker player. I dropped out of college to play poker as a pro. I had always bet sports. I hadn't taken it more seriously until kind of poker dried up. I'll admit to you now, I could not win as a poker player anymore. It's much harder to win. And I worked in the affiliate industry. I wrote a lot of content. I did some other podcasts, but I'd done on-page SEO, and I always had written about sports, and I've always bet on sports. So I've kind of taken it more seriously the past 10 years or 15 years, rather than when I was younger. I was more focused on poker. But yeah, and in Pittsburgh there was now it's legalized and everything, but in Pittsburgh there was a lot of bookies at the casino. It's the same circles, poker and sports. So that's just it kind of bled into that.
With the affiliate SEO stuff, were you writing the articles before you started betting, or did you start betting and then start doing the SEO stuff afterwards?
I learned the SEO and the optimization, content optimization after I started betting. So because that was I had a full-time job, and then it was part-time until a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, because I was doing content for some offshore sports books and some affiliate websites and casino type stuff. So I learned that stuff after I started betting.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Just curious, before we get into your whole story and kind of the larger topic of working with a larger syndicate and how that works, you're based in Colombia. What does the betting market look like in South America? So obviously you're originally from Pittsburgh. You have a general idea of what it's like in North America. What are the main differences between the South American betting market and the North American betting market?
It's becoming legalized and regulated here. It's an emerging market. I know people are trying to get into it. Colombia is a legalized, regulated market. As far as other countries, I'm not totally sure about the Southern Cone, but I know Mexico is legal, regulated. Are there bookies that you could find here, like PPH style bookies? Probably. I've not really had to go down into that well yet because I still have some outs back home, but. A good story is I have Venezuelan bookies that are like a PPH style. So, and we don't really think they have much risk management because we don't know if it's like a front for something. But I have essentially, in Venezuela, the Boliviars are useless, so they use U.S. dollars. So you can interact and then you can bet from the United States because they're taking the market of like the Venezuelans living there, betting. And it's a popular PPH skin, so that's kind of like one connection I've made here with some Venezuelans that I know. So I have some Venezuelan betting accounts. Yeah.
In the U.S., the large majority of it is online betting, people betting through their mobile phones. You have your kiosks, obviously, but it's a very, very small percentage of the overall handle, state by state. Is that similar in Colombia right now, or do you have more physical locations to go and bet at?
There's quite a bit of physical locations to bet. Just going around, I live in Medellin, Colombia, and just going around Medellin, there's a lot of places to bet. You can see the signs and you can walk right up. And it's weird because you can also pay your bills at the same place where you bet. So it's like a little bit of a strange, like a little bit of a, kind of a contradiction there in some ways. But yeah, you can pay your electric bill and fire like a parlay on like a soccer game or whatever. So yeah.
Yeah. How much are they taking at those places?
Not much because, it's just not it's a third world country. Like in the end, there's people here living very well. And if you're a gringo and you're earning dollars, you're obviously living way better than, but I mean, oh geez, a deposit bonus would be like $30 US or something. So you're not really getting a lot of high rolling type of people, but I'm not sure. I mean, I haven't really used them too much. I just kind of looked at them briefly because I still, go with the PPH and American and legals back home. So, but yeah, it exists here for sure.
Why'd you move to Colombia?
My old job had a lot of Colombians working for them, the affiliate job I had, and they hired a lot of Colombians who spoke amazing English and went to private schools, and they told me, hey, come visit Medellin and come visit Colombia. And I moved here maybe 3-4 years ago. I just loved it. It was just a great place to go. It's warm all the time. It's like the city of eternal spring, so it's always warm. I brought my dog from America here. So I just picked up my life and moved here. And yeah, if you buy property, I bought like an apartment outside the city, and that's how I kind of got the visa and how I'm going to keep staying here. But yeah, that's why Colombia. But Colombia is great. It's not the 90s anymore. It's a lot safer and a lot more things to do. I see a lot of gringos and families coming here now. So yeah, it's improving a lot.
Not bad, not bad. In terms of, so we'll get back to betting for a bit here. You became involved obviously with the betting syndicate that Rob mentioned. Tell us that story. So like, how did you actually start sports betting? What were you betting? How did it come to be?
I was an agent for them, and I would get accounts and give them accounts. I don't know if we want to go into that too much because I think people kind of sort of know what that is, or do you want me to kind of expand on that a little bit?
If it's different than the regular, like basically
No,
how are you
just-
getting accounts and stuff like that?
Yeah, leave it at that. That's fine.
Yeah, and so I had always bet on my own, and I had always gotten into betting. I mean, it just becomes like a thing when I was 16 years old. Like some bookie let me bet on a new Patriots game, and that's kind of like how it started, you know. And then just from there, playing poker, and with them, I was an agent. I was a good agent. I paid, you know, when it was time to settle on time, which is great if you want to get into sports. Like, just pay your debts and be a decent person. That's the way to build a network is don't be a scumbag. So, you know, I was a good agent. They interviewed a lot of people. I knew the PPH as well. I knew the software of the skins, and I knew the legals pretty well. So they interviewed a lot of people. They ended up hiring me to do like sort of a trading job for them.
Nice. So what did that entail? If you want to kind of get into that, what does that look like?
There's people that would send plays, and then I would sort of put them in on the bot and would quote them how much they went their way. So, you know, somebody says I want to bet the over in this game, I would put the play in, and then I would say, okay, we got this, here's your portion. And there was other stuff, like I knew the bot, I would do some behind the scenes stuff. But the thing is, the story is like they eventually had let me go because it just became a lot more automated. Where when I first started working there 2.5 years ago, it was like I was getting plays every Saturday, every Sunday, having to do them all. But you know, you can automate it so someone can log in and make the bet themselves. So you don't, if you have the human element, there's always gonna be a delay in what you're doing. And you know, I was not happy to lose my job there, but we're on good terms. I can still bet, and you know, we're good. But that's just the way it goes. It just became a more automated a system, basically, is how it went.
How much more of that do you see coming in the next few years? I mean, obviously there's this huge AI push nowadays, and we're seeing that AI is replacing a lot of regular people's jobs out there. In the sports betting space, how much do you think that, you know, the manual, regular person's job is eventually just going to be automated going forward? Obviously, you've already kind of been replaced in that sense. Can you think of other roles where those might just be obsolete going forwards?
I think it's happening now. I don't think though that like if you have a bot, like you have to know what you're doing. Like it automates your process, like for you to be able to bet more and have more outs and line shop. So it's not like you would just be essentially like rendered obsolete. So you still need to know what you're doing and be able to bet and understand the markets. So but there's certain things that they do that it is automated entirely. And, you know, you don't need to be there. You don't need a human to be that. But there's programmers that do that, and there's other people that do that. Well, I think that's obviously going to be coming more, but I still think with the people using like automated betting things, you still have to know what you're doing. And you can't use bots on every account. You can't use bots on legals. You can't use bots on a lot of PPHs. So the hand betting, in some ways, is making a little bit of a comeback, I think, the past year for me, because I have accounts I can't bot. I can't, you know what I mean? So I have to hand bet, or I have to have somebody help me hand bet. So I don't think it's going to be going away immediately, but who knows 10 years from now? I don't know what will happen in 10 years. So
automatic bets, AI.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably headed that way at some point. It's the good thing about the betting industry now is a lot of the AI is built off of existing Google searches, other articles, and you know, it's learning from the stuff that's out there. The good thing about the betting industry is that the majority of the stuff that's out there is garbage. Right? So like
right now.
So like if you ask ChatGPT, like give me some strategies to win at betting, it'll give you some strategies. It's not going to help you win at betting because it's pulling from other resources. Eventually that's going to turn over time, but other industries are just way ahead of sports betting in terms of like education at this point.
Yeah. The only way to win at betting, only way to win at betting is honestly grind hard and listen to this podcast.
I mean, grind hard is a big part of it, man.
No, the podcast was more.
The podcast's a bigger part.
The bigger part.
A bigger part is Circles Off podcast. The biggest part. But grind hard. I mean, you know what I mean. Like, I don't really want to sit here and say I'm a capper in the sense that like I'm going out and trying to beat big market sports. I'm trying to like look for inefficiencies and mistake lines. Like that's mostly what I do. And the way to do that is have tons of outs, look at the screen, and grind it out. And like that's really the way that I have to do it. I think people are trying to like look too much at I'm gonna bet this team to win that team and they want to be fancy about it like the touts do, but really like the small market stuff, if you find getting the best price in the world on a bet is not underrated. It's not. So I don't think people really think about that side of it. They think like what I want to bet today versus like what can I find to bet today, rather than having goals. I'm going to bet this or that. Just look at the board and look and see what you can find. So
I love that.
Kind of
I think that's really good advice. I mean, a lot of people cannot separate the ego, right? The sports fan ego from just being able to find value. They want to have some sort of input over what they pick. But once you kind of learn the space a lot better, like you're saying right now, I mean, for sports I don't know anything about, I'm not going to try to handicap them. What's the point? I might as well just look for good bets, find good prices, and just go from there.
And they're wildly efficient in some cases. I mean, I watch the Pizza Buffet every week, and you're starting it. I don't have an edge right now, and you're right. Like I don't, because it's these lines have been up all week. If you find an off market line on Sunday, go for it. But
that's
really
even better if you find it on Sunday.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's even better on Sunday, and it's you can find them. Are you going to get down huge on them? It's harder, but that's really what it's about in the end, is finding the inefficiencies. And for me, I'm not going to sit here and say like I cap some stuff, I bet some props I like, but it's never going to be the lion's share of what I'm doing as a sports bettor, because I'm not good enough to do that. I don't have a model. I don't know, a sport is so in depth that I'd be able to beat the market making books. So.
Yeah. The weird thing, you mentioned Pizza Buffet. For those that don't know, we have another channel here on the Hammer Betting Network. It's called Forward Progress. It's where we house all our NFL content. I do a live Sunday morning show during NFL season called Pizza Buffet. I'm only bringing this up, obviously I'm bringing it up to plug the show, but on top of that as well, I think like the most fascinating thing about that show in particular is I could go on in the morning and say, here's an off-market price here, go and bet that. Here's an off-market price here, go and bet that, and whatever. And actually come up with real edges on the day of the game. But people don't want that. They literally just want to know what I think. Even if I say that I don't have an edge at this time, they would rather me like handicap the game. And I'll tell them, I'm like, I'm betting into Pinnacle's market right now. They're taking 100K on this side, 100K, 50K on the total, whatever. And people would still rather that than me come on and just fire off like a dozen plus EV bets.
Yeah, bro, it's different. It's a different world. It's a different world. A lot of people just don't want to.
Yeah. People, it's boring to just say, I don't have an opinion. I just have an edge against the market, and that's all. So, you know what I mean? I think people don't really want to hear that. And that's what it takes to win for the most part. For somebody, especially like me, that's trying to just mostly find bad lines, like that's the truth. That's what wins in the end.
Yeah, it's just not glorious to say, oh, I like the Ravens -6 because
the rest
Penny's
of the
at -7. It's better to say I like the Ravens because the run offense is going to be good versus this run defense and this guy's out. And then people are like, oh, yeah, okay, that makes sense. But if you give out Ravens -6, that's a winner, and -7.5 is a loser.
Yeah, and also like the line shopping stuff is still very much lost on the majority of people, where you could say, I like this team because the number is 6 and the market, and they'll just go bet 6.5 somewhere else because it's easily accessible to do them. So, I mean, we're still it's been a few years now, multiple years of regulated sports betting. Eventually the general public is going to get smarter, but we still have a lot of that happening in the space.
Yeah, I mean, most people just have one account and they bet what the line is at that account. I wish it was different. I try to tell my buddies back home, like, I like it at this price, but it's like if you take it at 20 cents more, it's not really good anymore. So or a different number. So yeah,
exactly. So when you talk about your own betting, you mentioned obviously most of what you do is just trying to find, I guess, bad numbers, you call them. But what does the regular day look like? Are you use an odd screen? What are you doing?
I use Spank odds and want to say Don's best. I don't really have an opinion on which one's better. I think they're both kind of good. Spankots is improving. There's some good stuff on there. Yeah, I look at the odds screen and I wake up kind of early. Like tennis, I've played a lot of recently because you can find some off market numbers there. Obviously, with football, Saturday, Sunday, you got to be at home, like doing what you got to do. So it just depends on what sports are available. And I do some NBA props and some NBA halftimes. Halftimes, I think, are really one of the best things to bet because, first of all, they got to make a quick number, and there could be something that they're not factoring in from the first half. Also, you can find more inefficiencies in that market because if you have an odds screen, you can see sometimes you get some big edges based on against Chris or Pinnacle, and yeah, I think halftimes are really, really great. Team totals, money lines, stuff like that, I think are one of the best things to bet. That's the year I've had. This last month hasn't been so great, but the year I've had has been incredible because of betting halftimes. So a lot of stuff at halftimes and team totals and things like that.
How many hours are you typically putting in over the course of a week right now?
Man, it just depends on during football season. It's like a lot because you're there. I make it a point. Like I'm there. I'm like, there won't be another week 3 of the 2023 season or whatever. You know what I mean? So I justify it in my mind. Like you have to be there every Sunday, every Saturday. I don't know, it's 50, 60 hours during football season, probably like more closer to 30, 40 now. So, but it just depends. It's like right now I have a friend visiting and I was at a soccer game last Sunday. So this is a little bit of a slower week, but yeah, I mean, like a normal job, but during football, more hours. So, yeah.
Do you go through the same, Johnny? Because I think the exact same way. Like, I cannot miss this NFL Sunday because what if it's the best Sunday of the year for me? Like, I literally won't do anything on a Sunday during NFL season. That's
how I am. I just feel like there's not going to be another week 15 of this year of our Lord NFL Sunday. So I just have to be there and have to be able to play this stuff. Even if I don't get too many bets in, and I enjoy NFL. I mean, it's my favorite sport to watch and all that stuff. So yeah, I feel the same way as you.
I like to not miss a Sunday, but that's honestly doesn't really have to do with what you guys are saying. I just enjoy watching football on Sunday. It's genuinely one of the funnest things that I do.
Yeah.
And I know some people are probably thinking, wow, these guys are losers. Like that's the funnest stuff they do. But I mean, I'll take watching football on a Sunday with some buddies and having a bunch of bets. I'll take that over. I don't know if there's any other social rec activity I would take that over.
To me, there's nothing better over the course of the year than watching a full slate of NFL Red Zone and winning money. If you get that,
I don't go Red Zone. We disagree there.
Okay, you're not
Red Zone is the nuts. I agree with Rob. Red Zone is the nuts.
Red Zone's awesome if you're. I don't want to chirp you guys, but Red Zone's awesome if you're broke. Just get more screens and put all the games on, then you get every game. That's the way to do it. All the time.
I have another game in the background, but I mostly go Red Zone. But yeah. To me, the playoffs are underwhelming because it's like 2 games spread out. There's commercials. I'm like, give me week 17, week 18, or instead of the playoffs because it's just the whole slate Sunday is the best. So
it is awesome. It's awesome to get a full slate Sunday, and then the other best day is just past the opening Thursday and Friday of March Madness. Those are the 2 best, like NFL Sunday, and that is amazing. And occasionally you'll get a Saturday near, like, call it October, where you got college football, NBA, NHL, MLB, maybe a couple playoff games, and a big UFC card, and then that'll be like top 5 days of the year too.
Yeah, there you go.
But like you only get a couple of those. You might get one. Yeah, you might get one a year.
Yeah, exactly. That's
those are awesome. But I mean, are we crazy for wanting, like, that's the funnest thing you can do for me is sit around, bet, watch games, obviously win money. If you win money, it ends up being an amazing day. What else are you going to do? Go drink at the bar?
Well, listen, like there's other things I enjoy doing, but I think all 3 of us and producers, we're sports fans. Like we grew up on sports. We love sports. NFL's my favorite. To have like all the games going on at once, the witching hour, right? The Red Zone, your fourth quarter of all the early games. Like I live for that stuff. That's my favorite hour of every single week during NFL season. Nothing's going to compare to that.
Yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that stuff. And then obviously, it's the experience of the day too. Like you grab some food, you grab whatever. Like the day, it's like in spurts, right? You got the one for Eastern time listeners. you got the 1 o'clockers.
Yeah.
So you to sweat in the morning, get the bets in or whatever. Then you go 1 o'clockers, fire up a lunch. I don't know if you guys are like this, but I only start thinking about lunch, no matter what it is on Sunday. I start thinking about lunch at 1:06 p.m. The game starts. I got all the games. I sit down. I'm like, wow, what a day we're in for. All right, let's talk lunch. And then you start. And
what's the ball's flying through the air on the first kickoffs? Then you can start thinking about. And then you got the London game or the Munich game now
buddy,
too.
those
so
days, 9:30 a.m.
Yeah.
You know what? I gotta say, I don't like the Europe games. I understand why they're doing them, but I have like this weird. I win money on the NFL. I don't return a lot on the NFL. Let's just call it. But I do a decent number of amount of volume over the course of the year. Return a little bit, and it's fine. The thing that kills me about the European games is I have something mentally where I just don't want to be down before the 1 o'clock game starts.
That's tough.
Like it doesn't matter what it is. And I should look, this is maybe more of a me problem because I guess it's like being pessimistic instead of optimistic. If you have an edge on the European game, you should play the edge. But and I do, but there's just something about sweating that game and I don't really want to go into the 1 o'clock slate down today. Like I don't want to start down one unit and have to be like clawing back for the rest of the day. I don't know what that is.
You could have slept through it in your mind. Like I could have just gotten up at 10:30 or something.
Exactly.
Or done something different instead. So yeah, there's the regret of betting in some ways there.
For sure. How does being betting as part of a syndicate differ from what you're doing now, betting independently? Like what are the advantages to what you're doing now? What are some of the challenges? Walk us through how those days differ.
Well, I still use the Syndicate's system of placing bets. So I'm still betting through them. It's just, you have accountability. Like you can't be losing, so it's like, cause you're playing for partners. So you have accountability. You need to win. If I'm losing on an account that I have myself, then I don't have many personal accounts because back home I burned them with getting limited and stuff back in Pennsylvania and my relatives and stuff. So I kind of have to be accountable to people when I'm betting on their accounts, kind of regardless of that. And in terms of the syndicate, you have to. People are watching and seeing hey, are you down a lot this week? Or are you winning? And if you're not winning consistently, then they're going to be like, hey, you got to get it together, or you're going to be done. It's a business. So yeah, and legals, it's probably a little bit different. It's just I don't have tons of experience there lately because I'm not in. But people give me legals and do bets for me and stuff. So yeah, I don't deal with the side of them being limited. It's more I just get back you're good for this amount or whatever it is. So I'm not dealing with the keeping accounts alive much on the legal side at the moment anyway.
Right. On the syndicate front, we don't really haven't had too many people on before that have worked as part of larger groups. Most of them are their own independent bettors. We did have the Ferris episode back in the day where he was getting accounts for different syndicates, and that went over well.
I know Ferris. Ferris actually worked with us before, so I knew Ferris actually.
Yeah,
so.
he gave
that episode was a banger. Shout out Ferris.
Great. Yeah,
what up,
he gave
buddy?
out 3 scenarios of different groups he worked with. He didn't name the names. But I knew very much so that one of them was Snowstorm. I think one of them was definitely Tunes.
People are going to rush back to his article now to try and guess.
Yeah, but that went over really well. So when you're working as a part of a larger betting group, how do you guys go about managing the risk and ensuring responsible betting, right? Is it presumably you have many people who are trying to bet things at once? Is it just about, in your experience, is it just about getting as much down as you possibly can in a short time frame? Or is it more intricate that? Do people know what they're betting, where there's overlap? How do you go about responsible betting?
I would say that first of all, there's a percentage that each bet takes in the account that when it's played. So it's, you can run out of credit, but it's, there's certain times you would want more credit for certain things versus you're not. If you want to hand bet something for more money, you can manually do that. Super Bowl props is a good example of that. Super Bowl props, there's some huge edges sometimes. I got some last year and so you go in and you bet considerably more on that on every account possible. But normally it's just a small say you have like a account with 2,000 credit, that probably the average bet would be like $100. So you're gonna, and then every day that's going over and over. And as far as managing the credit and how many people are playing stuff, they're not a super high volume major sport group. Like they're more, it's low volume, higher ROI, which is kind of the way that I want to bet. I probably bet more than some cappers in some senses, but they're more of a like a higher ROI, lower volume type of bet. So there's not like MLB sides being put in, you know what I mean, to these groups. This is lower level stuff with a higher edges, not as much mainstream sports. Like you're not going to see NBA sides most of the time going in there because I don't really know people that win at those, to be honest with you. But for instance, you're gonna see maybe some totals, but it's gonna be more niche market type of stuff.
Does that make it more challenging to keep the accounts over time? Like, do you find that you guys are constantly churning through accounts?
I feel that way because I've had so many accounts with them, and as an agent, and I've just run through them, and yeah, it's hard. I mean, I think to some extent, trying to keep the account and what you play is like I think that's more of a legal discussion rather than a PPH, because like what makes them close the account on PPH? You winning.
Yeah.
So like if you're gonna win, it doesn't matter what you're betting, in the sense like we're not unless you're betting like all these parlays or something. It's very obvious. But if you're winning consistently over and over again, you know, you're going to lose the account. It's just going to happen. You're not going to have, I don't have accounts I had years ago because I've won enough to not have them anymore. You know what I mean? So in that sense, it's just like, there's, you know, I don't think if you're way up on the week, for instance, when I worked there, like they would be up a lot on the week and then they would shut off the bot on Sunday and say like, oh, it's down for maintenance. But really, you know, it's like, we don't want anyone to play anything. So yeah, that's something that they would regularly do because, and also the other thing, you don't really want to see a bunch of props the last day of the bookie looks at the sheet, he sees all these props, or he sees NFL props or whatever, which haven't been that great, honestly. You know, that's an edge that used to be amazing, but now is not that good. But I'm saying like you don't want to see, you know, the last day a bunch of props or whatever the case may be. And if you're up a lot in the week, collecting is important, so you don't have to run it up. There's a max win set on the account. You know what I mean? That it should stop once it hits that number, and that's, you know, it does normally work in that way. So you can say like it's up to the account holder to tell them, hey, this is the IP address, this is the amount I want you to bet. I don't want these sports, and here's the max win. So it's an automated, sophisticated system, and there's a way, and they're definitely, you know, I've not worked for another one, but I've dealt with some ones, and for me, like they do a really good job at that, at managing the accounts and managing the handicappers. Also, like for me, for example, I remember I bet something and Storm was like, yeah, man, that's your biggest bet of the week and it's the smallest edge. And I was like, dude, I'm doing so well this year. Like, why are you bitching at me? But he was right. I mean, it was my biggest bet of the week, and it was like an NCAA side with like a 115 or 120, and I got like plus 100. So not a giant edge in the NCAA tournament on a second half bet. So the other stuff I was doing was much stronger, and that ended up being a click that was much larger than the other stuff I was doing. So yeah.
Interesting.
Any, I guess, any other cool stories? I'll ask that first. Any other cool stories from working that, you know, interesting for any of the listeners?
I mean, it's just kind of it's a fun vibe. I kind of miss it in a lot of ways because of just like the atmosphere. I mean, you're just sweating bets and watching stuff. It's cool. You get to meet up with agents. You know, in Vegas, I had people come visit me in Colombia. So if you become a big enough agent, you can make a good amount of money. I don't think I've ever paid them. Like I've always made enough as a capper, and then I have a good percentage on my accounts and stuff. So I might have maybe paid them one time over 2.5 years, and it's pretty much just gone this direction. So if they're winning, you know, and you'll be happy to pay them if you're collecting. But yeah, it's just been a good experience overall for me. Even now as just a capper, like not an employee anymore, it's still pretty good. Yeah.
Roughly how many cappers would a group like that have?
Oh man, I want to say how many cappers. Probably 20, 30. It just depends on, and they're not all active all year, you know? And
right.
Some people are playing like one thing a week. You know, they're not playing and some people don't play much at all. So these people have their specific niches that they're going after, and there's kind of like a little bit of a hierarchy between the cappers, because I know some of them, like, we're not going to step on each other's toes in terms of like what you're doing and what I'm doing. Like, you could still bet whatever you wanted, but just to be like, to keep things civil. But yeah, so like there's it just depends on how many are active and at the time, and what sports are going on. But yeah, I think 20, 30 would be a reasonable number. Yeah.
Do the cappers place the bets themselves, or do they usually fire it off? Yeah,
they do. They actually have logins to the bot. That's why I kind of lost my job, because originally there was only like a few people that had access.
Right.
And now the people who are like, okay, I want to bet something, we trust you, you can log in and bet it yourself. So it just makes it easier in that sense. So yeah, you can log in and bet it yourself, and it goes skin by skin, or it can go sport by sport, but you can do skin by skin, like skin by skin, like specific on ace or mag or whatever you want to do. You can just bet it like that. So yeah, that's why I say it's not really like it's going to win for you because it's a bot. It's like it amplifies your abilities as a bettor to get down on things you can't get down on, and be able to click something where you hit a lot of accounts at once. So
how important is the technology?
It's super important. I mean, if it's not working, you can't bet. So it needs to work. I mean, you can go in and hand bet it manually, but it's important that it works, and that you can tell how much you're getting down. And yeah, it's important. Definitely. They have a guy that does a lot of programming. He's like a whiz. He does a lot of automated stuff, which is a lot more common on PPH. So yeah, there's somebody there that's doing a lot of the tech and the automated stuff. So
a lot of people listening to this podcast probably know what a bot is, but never used one before. You say you have cappers using the bot themselves. Can you talk about like the simplicity or the process of actually using a bot to bet a play, and specifically what that does?
I wish it was more complicated, but it's like, if you've used a PPH or a sports betting account, it's very similar to that. It's like, go in, find the bet, put it on the sheet, place it. There's sliders of how much you'd want to bet. You can see the accounts that are hit. What's happening is they're loading accounts into the bot. The bot is automatically logging into these accounts, sometimes with a delay, and then they are placing the bets usually at the same time. And what that does is, if you had 100 accounts by yourself, you have to log into each one. You have to go find the bet. You have to do this. But with this, it goes and it hits them all immediately. So that's the big advantage of it. There can be problems. It can miss some accounts. Some accounts can not have credit. Some accounts can have the max win hit. So when you click something, you don't always know how much you're going to get. But usually, with the stuff I'm betting, I just want to get the max on whatever it is, because it's a prop or it's something that's a little bit, I'm not betting like an NFL side, into that. So that's kind of how it works.
What's the level of sophistication with the bot? Like, so for PPHs, you're dealing with, let's say, hundreds of accounts that all have different credit limits. Do you have the ability to like basically bet those in order of the accounts that have the most credit available or anything like that? Is there that level of sophistication with the bot, or not at that level yet?
Yeah, there is. You could have a slider if you wanted to bet more, it's possible. If you wanted to bet less, it's possible. Certain sizes of bets, it'll take it. If it's really like plus 700, it'll do a lesser amount, generally speaking, to match up with the max win on the account. So it is sophisticated, because there's a whole, like, the big thing in PPH is getting stiffed. I've been stiffed a lot. So like, you really don't want to go over that max win number. And that's important it's especially important to your agents, to the people that are working with the syndicate, because if you win 10,000 from a bookie that you have a $2,000 credit limit or something, when you come to collect, you don't feel good. You might get paid, but you're a little worried if you have to collect a huge number and you said, I don't want to win, too much. So I wish I could get like 100 accounts and win like 500 a week off of bookie or something. Just keep the number super, not possible, obviously, but I even 2,000 now, I'm like nervous. I think sometimes they're not going to pay me. So yeah.
Yeah, you hear a lot of bettors talk about what you just talked about, which is like getting stiff, not being able to collect the money. In your case, does that come from whoever gave you the account, typically saying, like, just taking off, going silent, or is it the actual bookie not willing to pay out on those bets?
I would say for me, it's mostly the actual bookie that's just kind of gonna ghost. So yeah. I mean, you can get someone that will vouch both ways or whatever the case may be, but usually it's just, the thing is, I understand the business. I understand I'm going to get stiff. It's going to happen. It's like the life we chose. Like, if you want to bet with PPHs, you want to be in this business, like, it's going to happen. What can you do to minimize it? Keep a lower max win, and be on top of it, your accounts, and try to make it, and collect. Don't roll it as much, and collect, and try to collect on Monday or Tuesday or as fast as you basically can. But yeah, that's just part of the business, unfortunately.
As part of the business, obviously you're reliant on working with other partners to get you accounts. Are there any specific red flags that you look for when somebody reaches out to you and says, hey, I got this, or do you just kind of have to go with it no matter what, because you have like basically a high ceiling with anyone that reaches out?
To some extent, what you said is correct. Like, you kind of have to. I would just do it, but keep it a low risk. But the thing is, it's a small industry. People know if you're not paying your debts. People know if you're not trustworthy. People can get around if a bookie's not paying people. There's chats. It's a small world, betting. I mean, there's a lot of people involved with it, but the higher levels of it, a lot of people know other people. So one thing is, if you want to build a network and have help and get good stuff and like have accounts and succeed, pay your debts, keep your word. And if you can't keep your word, show up and say, this is why I can't, this is what I'm going to do to fix it. So yeah, exactly.
What's the most you've ever gotten from one PPH account?
Man, there was one. It was probably 2 years ago. This guy, he would like deposit $15,000 in my checking accounts and stuff. Like, it was like the best bookie ever. I mean, I couldn't even believe it. Like, when he was paying me, I was like, this isn't real. Like, he was, and yeah, he wouldn't even do the Venmo it's California bookies, man. I mean, they're the ones you gotta go after. But yeah, he was just. Yeah,
it's what Shohei tried to do, right? Or
was it Ohtani's guy?
Ohtani's guy, yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably why I was paying you so quick.
Yeah, so there you go. But this guy, yeah, I mean, I want to say I won maybe 80,000 off this guy. Like, it was crazy, and for a PPH, that's like incredible. I mean, if you get to 10 or something, that's really good. I mean, but if you can, it was crazy, this guy, and it was somebody who gave me the out, who who gave me an awesome out, and I helped. He obviously helped. I gave him some of it too, but yeah, it was crazy, and that was all Syndicate. Like, that wasn't me. I mean, I had still been betting in the bot, so some of the plays were technically like mine, but that was all like Snowstorm Group murdering this dude over and over. And then the funniest part of the story is, there was an agent. He was an agent, and there was a guy above him, and he cut me off, and he was like, I don't want to cut you off, but the guy above me said, like, we have to. So he wanted to keep taking the action. So yeah, that was probably the best one I ever had.
Was that agent getting a cut of the action on, like, what?
I don't really know. He I think some of these guys don't want to give up. They think like he's going to lose eventually, because everyone loses. So
yeah,
and then some, because in a bookie's mind, I mean, 99% of people are losing. So maybe they are just, some of them are stubborn in the sense that they don't want to like admit this dude's sharp or whatever, and he's going to keep beating us. So that was just kind of his philosophy, I guess.
Yeah, I'm just, because obviously for people that don't know, sometimes you can like turn the agent, right? Agent's getting like 10% of whatever's going to the bookie for collecting and whatever. Sometimes groups will offer the agent more than the 10% to keep the account going for as long as possible.
And get new accounts and get exactly. Yeah, that's a good tactic. If you have a bookie that pays you like prompt and then he cuts you off, you're like, hey man, I have an opportunity for you here. So if you get a good bookie, like an honorable bookie who's paying you, wait till he pays you the last settle, and then you go, hey, by the way, I was using a sophisticated system of betting here. Like, let's talk a little bit more. So yeah, that's a great tactic.
Look at this fucking info we're giving out on this podcast for free. Drop a fucking like right now. You know who you are. I'm looking right into the camera. Drop a like on the YouTube. Gringo, what's the most you've ever been stiffed?
Oh man, probably 20,000. A friend back home, I gave him money for a post-up bet. I'd known him for a long time. The post-up bet wins, and he took the money and the winnings. Yeah, and so as a
Did he place
wise,
it? Did he place the bet? Did he even place the bet?
Won. Yeah, bet won. He took it, and then overnight, whatever Japanese soccer, something went.
That'll get
something. You. Yeah, by the morning he was like, "Oh, I took a bunch of Adderall last night, man. I'll get it back to you when I can." And that's it. And he blocked me, and that's life. But yeah, that's the way it goes sometimes. Yeah.
No good.
Tough one.
No good.
Listen, I mean, if you're in sports betting
stealing
long enough,
the post up too, Rob.
Yeah, that sucks.
That's in the heart. You steal the post up. Come on,
it's true.
That's kicking a man while he's down.
Seriously,
that's the ultimate scumbag move. Yeah.
And then the thing is, I got that down for somebody else, so I had to quote them. Like I got a portion, so I lost the post up. I had to give someone else the winnings, and then I also lose the winnings as well. So yeah, that was probably the worst. Yeah,
that's a tough one. That's a tough one.
Do you keep up with what other betting groups in the space are doing?
I work with some of them, so I know what some of them are doing. I have access to one other group's like bot type of thing, and I do keep up what they're doing. I think there's a lot of good ones. There's a few. I think Snowstorm's the best. I'm biased because I used to work there, but I just think what Snowstorm sort of does is they're a little more selective in what they want to play, and so it's just going to be a little more high ROI for me. Like they're trying to win every week. You know what I mean? And you can't win every week. There's going to be times you don't, obviously. But they're trying to keep it lower volume, higher ROI, and keep the accounts, with the specifications of we want to win what you tell us to win and no more than that. So that's kind of how they want to do it. Because you have to collect. Winning is one thing, collecting is another. So,
yeah, they're not one and the same. They're very different.
No.
Yeah, winning and
hit a first TD prop on a BetFast skin plus 700, but the bookie is just no one. That's another stiff story there. So yeah, had like a couple of those. Yeah.
You ever basically, I guess we'll say I've been known. I said this a while back on the show. Okay, everybody snapped at me on gambling Twitter. Still, to this day, I'm gonna stick by it. Okay.
I don't even know where you're going with this one.
I'm excited now. What he's gonna say. I don't know.
And there's one guy in particular who's gonna probably be like, nah, this is wrong.
Call him
out.
Call him out. Right. Tell him he's a piece of shit. Call him out.
He's not a piece of shit for this. He's in his scenario. It works out. Shipper, you're right in your scenario. However, never play a futures bet. It doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't. On PPH, it's not a good idea.
Forget about PPH. What I'm saying is this: regular, in general. And there's a lot of things. There's a lot of reasons why, and most of them, to be honest, I can't even say on the pod.
What if it settles tomorrow, though?
That's not a futures bet.
Well, technically, you
could.
Okay.
I'm not talking. If you're talking like Masters winner and you're betting on Thursday to Wednesday, I'm not. That doesn't count.
You're saying months ahead of time.
Yeah, months ahead, like season future. Okay. I would even go as far as to say anything like pre-tournament March Madness for tournament winner. That would be fine. Like that's a 3-week, 4-week grade. I'm not even saying those. Although I certainly wouldn't place those in PPH accounts. I'm saying any full season, because with the futures bets and other things for people listening, when you place a futures bet, highly likely it's going to be a high plus money bet. Highly likely. Obviously, there could be some that are not, but you're probably looking at like hitting plus 1,000, plus 2,500. If the bookie at that point is going to be in any sort of trouble, typically these will grade at the same time too. So if you're like, I'm going to take whatever, this team to win the Super Bowl, if it wins 11 grand. If that's a common play and that bookie just got rinsed that Super Bowl, he's done. He can't even pay you, even if he wants to. He doesn't have the money. Like, you might not have, let's say 3 people hit him on a future and he owes 50 grand on that future. If it's not a bigger bookie, like, he can't pay that out.
But that doesn't even matter, because they're just going to free roll you anyways.
Just going to free roll
whether or not he can pay you or not, if they cut that account, they'll leave that bet open in the account. I've seen it happen a million times.
No, the thing is, they're just going to delete the bet. So, if they cut you off, they delete the bet. So that's the other issue with it too. So
if you get cut off in between here in the future, you're done. But what I'm saying is, when that future grades, because it's going to pay out so much, it's so likely that they're just going to be like, nah, get out of here.
Yeah,
it's so likely. And then, like I'm saying, even if they are honorable, if they do get stuck, Like at the end of the day, like you physically can't collect money from someone who doesn't have the money. It's a losing game. If they don't have the money, they don't have it. I gave small examples, but the reality is it's true.
You're right. And also you're going to hit a larger number on a future. And then if that week you're betting and you're winning, it's going to even make it more difficult. So there you go. I agree completely.
But there's also just different reasons why I wouldn't place futures bets on anything. And that includes over the counter, regulated, whatever, anything. I just wouldn't place futures bets.
I don't really do a lot of it because it's not really my day. I'm more of like a day-to-day grinder type, so I don't do a lot of it. I'm curious to say why you're just anti-future bets though.
Just not worth it. Like it's not worth it to have that in your. There's so many reasons why, and again, like I said, a lot of them I can't say on here. But if you guys trust me, I gave the reasons obviously a little bit. Another one is just you always want to like keep the credit free. You never know what you're gonna need. You never know. Even if that future bet going in your account, let's say you signed up, you're new better, you sign up at FanDuel, put in $5K, $10K. You put a futures bet in. Right now you're like, no, I got tons of money in the account. Yeah. You start winning, whatever, you start losing down. Now you have a sick banger bet. Maybe you want to play it, arb the other side on Pinnacle, sponsor of the show, and you want to make some money there. Now instead of being able to bet 1,000, now you put a $500 future and you go and bet 500. All it takes is one of those, one time that you didn't get another bet that you could churn, and now your future's already roughly negative EV. All it takes is that one. And there's so many other reasons why, like I said, but
I would
no good.
I would agree with that. I would, like in Shipper's case, he's just going to deposit another. Like not everyone can do that.
What if you can't deposit, like even if you could deposit another 1,000.
Yeah.
Then that's still that 1,000, whatever. At some point, you're going to be topped out on how much you can deposit in that given day.
True.
And if you can't get that all in play, and again, this is like that's another one of whatever 15 reasons I have. That's just
it's a very high hold market, generally speaking, as well.
Yeah,
so
and even if you price shop, it still ends up being a high hold market.
I'm assuming the future is plus EV, certified plus EV future. I'm still saying don't place it. But anyways, that's the
we get a Johnny educational video for Pinnacle maybe next month.
Why not to place a futures bet?
Yeah.
It's just, you guys gotta trust me.
Those are great videos. Seriously, those are really solid.
Thank you, appreciate that.
The source on that one is just trust me. The source on that one is just trust me, but you guys just trust me. There you go.
Source just trust me.
Source just trust me. Obviously, I gave a couple reasons, but in addition to that, trust me, bro. All right, what else we got here? Man, this has been a great episode, by the way. Thank you for joining. I think a lot of the stuff on here is not necessarily talked about in the betting space as much. Certainly not on open forum podcasts like this one.
It took me 1 hour of chatting with Gringo here to piece together my past, my history, and figure out that I've come across this guy many times in the past before. We've just never...
We've met in Vegas, actually, I think once.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's all...
Back like maybe a year or two ago or something.
It's coming back
that's
to me.
awkward.
Yeah. No. I meet a lot of people. You're not
Rob's very popular. Rob's very popular at these events. So yes.
Yeah. You going this year?
Not only am I going to Bet Bash this year, but breaking news.
Are we announcing it?
It's been confirmed. We will be doing a live Circles Off from Bet Bash this year.
Oh, wow.
We'll figure out the exact date, but had a chat with Live Dog Luke. It's confirmed, finito. We're just figuring out where it's going to be taking place, but there will be a live Circles Off. More details coming closer to Bet Bash this year, but I'm looking forward to that.
I think there's going to be a live audience.
There's going to be a live audience.
Sign up in advance. That thing's going to fill out quick, and just sign up in advance because it's either going to fill out quick or it's not going to fill out at all. And either way, just sign up now.
I'm going to see if I could get Darren Ravel as our guest for that show.
You think you can get him?
No. I think he hates me.
I was there right there. I was right in front of him when he agreed to come on Rufus's show. I was there. I swear. I was right there. Rufus asked him, hey, maybe we can do that and talk on Bet the Process. He's like, yeah, sure, that could be cool. And then Rufus said, you got me blocked on Twitter. And then Ravel's like, oh, really? And then he went to it, and then Rufus like, yeah, you going to unblock me? He's like, okay. Rufus hit him with the pity unblock.
Yep.
So he's like, fuck, this guy's right here. I got to unblock him. Maybe I'll block him later. Unblocks him. He's like, yeah, I'll do the pod. But he didn't really mean it. He was never really doing the pod.
No, it never happened.
I don't think he'll do it.
But he's gone now. No more Action Network anymore. He's doing his own thing. I don't know what's going on there. Still,
I don't know if he'll do it.
He's not going to do it. There's almost no chance he's going to do it. There's almost no chance.
Are there any advantages of being based in in Colombia, other than obviously the weather and stuff like that? I'm saying betting.
I mean, it's a very cheap lifestyle that you could get. Like I have like a maid, a trainer, like a assistant for a lot cheaper than in the US. I mean, if you can live really well here and making dollars. So and it's safe. I mean, it's not like the 1990s where Al Escobar was running around shooting people.
Mm-hmm.
It's a safe country now. I mean, it's safe-ish. Let's put it that way.
Maybe
Still
safer than Pennsylvania at this moment.
Man, I don't know. Sometimes when I was in Cleveland recently, not to call out Cleveland, but man, Cleveland is a rough town.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, when I was back home, but yeah, no, Colombia is good. There's a lot to do, and you can live a really nice lifestyle. I don't think your standard of living goes down, provided you're making good money. I'm lucky to be able to be betting sports on the internet. What else can you say? Like, betting sports on the internet, living in a tropical climate, you got to be grateful. So yeah.
Well said, man. Well said. This has been a great Gringo. Everyone out there, do what Johnny said before. Smash that like button down below. If you're not subbed here on Circles Off yet, and more than 50% of you watching this week, I know are not subbed because I check the stats every week, make sure you hit that sub button below. It helps us grow the podcast. We always wrap up with a few things, but recently we've introduced the plus EV, minus EV segment. So it doesn't have to be sports betting related. Could be anything in life. Totally up to you. One thing that you think is plus EV in life and one thing that you think is minus EV in life.
Let's go with what I just said. Be grateful for what you have. Sometimes I don't think Americans and Canadians, I feel like to some extent, they're kind of living in not a rat race totally, but the people in Colombia don't have what we have. They don't have the advantages, but to me, they seem happier than a lot of people I know back home because they're grateful for what they have. And, if you can, and even if you go through something that's awful, you're not the only one to go through it. And there's other people in your situation. Sometimes you feel alone, but sometimes you can come out stronger than before. So be grateful for what you got. And yeah, that's about it.
Like that. You got anything?
Positive EV, I got one I've been holding on to for a couple of weeks now. It's tough to do. It's really tough to do to get out of this habit, but keep the cell phone, assuming you use it for an alarm clock in the morning, away from the bed and don't snooze the alarm. It feels terrible, but at the end, when you do actually wake up, it is better for you. Scientifically, that's what they say. It's better for you. I have started to try to do it. The days that I am able to actually do it, no snooze, feel a lot better, more refreshed. So I'm trying to cut out the snooze, one snooze at a time.
Yeah, I tried that before. It lasted approximately a few weeks, and it is better. Like I would force myself to have to get out of bed to go grab my phone to turn up.
Go back in.
After a while, I'm just like, fuck this. I'm still tired. I'm going to sleep.
I think I've read because it gives your body the signal to sleep again and releases chemicals every time you hit the snooze button. So yeah, you're on something. I wish I could get into that habit too. I saw Kanish talking about a while back about quitting coffee, and I was like, wow, that's something that even that's too daunting for me living in Colombia. So yeah, I have to get some sort of wake up goals.
Yeah.
Better.
I did the quit coffee thing before. That lasted a month. Maybe I'm just not good at quitting things, honestly. But you know what the thing is about, I wonder if people agree with me or not, because my wife argues with me about this all the time. I set an alarm and I snooze like a million times, right? I set an alarm way earlier than I have to wake up, knowing that I'm still going to snooze. And she's always telling me, she's like, you're getting such a worse sleep. Just set it for when you're going to wake up and get out of bed. But there's like this.
It feels so good.
It feels so
amazing.
Good to turn over and look at your phone and be like, oh man, I still can sleep for like another hour and a half and like snooze.
Dude, do you know what I used to, I don't know if I told this on the pod before, but when I was like at the peak of my Sunday scaries, like if you had to go into a job the next day that you don't like or whatever, and you're like, fuck, I gotta wake up tomorrow at like 6:30 a.m. to drive into my job that I hate. Like, this is brutal. Like, when you're about to go to bed for that, it feels terrible. So what I used to do is I'd set an alarm roughly for 3:30 in the morning. And I'd wake up, and every time I'd trick myself into thinking that I had to wake up, and then I'd be like, bro, I got another 3 hours of sleep. What a hit that gives you. That's honestly a rush and a half. I don't recommend it. Don't do it. It ruins your sleep. It's obviously not good for you, but that feeling, what a rush.
I agree. I don't know. Like, Gringo, I don't know if we want to talk about your sleeping habits or anything like that.
I think I agree with you, Rob, because I set a bunch of different alarms and then snooze them. But to me, it's mitigating risk because, like your wife says, set one rate, we gotta get up. I can't because I'm too worried that I'm gonna just
sleep
go through it.
Yeah.
So I have to get the mornings build up to make sure I get up. You know what I mean? So that's where I'm at.
I do want to try, like, nowadays they have, there's a lot of innovation in the world nowadays, but nowadays they have like these mattresses that like slowly change the temperature as you're like kind of wake you up peacefully. I'd like to try something like that and see if it's any different.
There's clocks like that that's like light up slowly to get you.
It's like the sunlight.
Yeah.
There's a sunlight that turns on.
Yeah. But the mattress one specifically, it starts to change the temperature of the mattress to like optimal for, I don't know. I'd like to try stuff like that. I'll never do it, but I'd like to try.
You got negative EV?
Negative EV, I would say let's let gratitude's more about living in the present. I think negative EV is regrets and holding on to the past. Something I remember seeing a quote by Jocko, who I kind of like admire a little bit. He was like, people say, "What would you tell your 20-year-old self?" Like, it doesn't matter. You're not 20 anymore. Like you're here now. It's nice. It's a nice anecdote or something to think about, but it's irrelevant what you would say to your younger self because you're here now. So live in the present. And Colombians.
So we're going to be skipping. We're going to be skipping the next. Great answer there. I couldn't agree more. We're going to be skipping the next question. I think we're actually going to end it here.
Yeah, I do want to say really one thing that I'll give out a plus EV that I wasn't going to give out, but I had to do it after the episode I did with Kanish where we gave out I gave out my Twitter list, like my favorite Twitter accounts in gambling Twitter, and I tried to give some precedent and how I was grading them and whatever. I didn't realize this, but there is a feature on Twitter where you can choose to not see tweets from people that don't follow you, which I would highly suggest you turn that on.
But that doesn't even that's so for so few people.
What do you mean for so?
You actually have a following on Twitter.
I guess what
that's
you're
literally
saying.
for nobody except you.
I would be
that's
so
negative
fucked if
EV.
I did
Yeah,
that.
bro. We'd be,
It's a good point.
I don't even think I have like
that.
5 followers and they're all bots.
Okay, let me rephrase this. If you have a big following on Twitter, I would highly suggest that you use that feature. It's amazing. It's gold. If they don't follow you, I don't want to say that their opinion is relevant. That's not what it comes down to. But you shouldn't care enough about what they have to say. That's
if you're actually posting content and have a following, fine. I think that's a fine move for you.
Okay.
But for everyone,
you're trying to declutter the timeline. You're trying to declutter.
Yeah,
it's important what you pay attention to just as much as what you ignore, so that you're trying to get that.
We're recording this on Monday. This will obviously be released on Thursday, but
certainly Tuesday. But it's irrelevant.
We're recording this on Tuesday. I was going to say, so Monday night, the Leafs play the Bruins. I'm live tweeting a game, and I go and I click my tweet, and what this will do is it'll put all these tweets from people that don't follow you in the show more section. And I click the show more. It's just a bunch of Bruins fans tweeting at me that I'm an idiot. And I'm like, okay, there's no reason for me to see this in real time. So I'm glad this is working. And that's what stemmed, led me to give that out as a move. I guess, we can actually get this in the first time ever. We're not going to do our closing question.
It's done now.
We might have to just change the podcast forever and figure out a new closing question. It's completely done. Okay. Gringo, this is all on you, my friend.
Gringo, you broke it.
I'm sorry, guys. Coming in hard.
No worries. This has been episode 151 of the Circles Off Sports Betting Podcast here on the Hammer Betting Network. We've been joined by our grateful guest. Very grateful to have him, and he's very grateful for his life. Gringo, appreciate you, man. We'll see you all next week. Like and subscribe.